Have you ever wanted to be the very best, like no one ever was, when it comes to an adventure in 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons? Well, if that's the case, stay tuned for this DM's Guild Spotlight as we were going to review an Adventure League module debuted at KumoriCon titled To Be the Very Best. And yeah, it's exactly what you think. What's up, guys? It's Ted from Immersion. I am back. Let us jump right into this DM's Guild Spotlight. We're going to be reviewing CCC Kumori 0-2-04 To Be the Very Best from Jay Africa. I actually have kind of connected with Jay through the internet, and we actually met at D&D Live this year, so it was super cool. And he sent me this awesome Adventure League, fully Adventure League legal, mind you, adventure that is clearly themed after a certain anime, and we will dive into that. It is an Adventure League module. It is AL legal, so you can run your players through it. I will remind you that this was basically published in 2018. So reminder that as far as Adventure League rules go, this was designed based on the Adventure League rule set that existed at the time. That has obviously since changed, just due to the way the AL rules have changed for the new seasons, but just keep that in mind. So, as per every other paid module that I talk about here in the DM's Guild, I'm not going to run through it 100%, because that would discourage you from purchasing it. 2, spoilers, right? If you're going to be playing in this adventure, you're probably going to lose something if you don't... if you listen to this. So, it is a Tier 1 adventure set to be for 2 hours. So, you're going to see a lot of stuff that are AL based. It's going to have that AL kind of design. And you're also going to see a lot of things in quotes that are very reminiscent of a certain anime that most of us, I would say all of us, really love. So, long story short, the adventure is... this school of homeless children in the Moonsea region has been having some rough times. So in order to try to drive up some interest and boost the morale, the Leaves of Sylvanas is hosting their first Wild Monster Capture Challenge, a festival that calls for adventurers to tame and capture monsters with which to team up in arena combat. Sound familiar? So, Act 1. Like no one ever was. You'll also see quotes from certain very prominent youngsters and other characters. So I'm not going to dive too much into this. We can kind of skip through this. But basically what's important, also, there's a professor with a tree-based name. And you can see the Capture Orbs, as they're called here, all have certain things. And this is going to become important, right? Capture Orb colors, right here, their material they're made out of, and their effective versus a monster type. This will be important when it actually comes to capturing monsters. Okay. Capturing a monster functions similarly to combat. You may resolve each capture attempt one character at a time, one-on-one. You may have each determine first and run, first and run the counters as separate as a group. During a capture event, use the Capture Monster cards, which is a whole separate card that you get in a PDF, but they're also included at the end, which we'll talk about, provided in Appendix G, rather than a monster's usual stat block. To capture a monster, a character has 5 rounds to accomplish the following conditions. Succeed in 2 checks against the monster, or successfully hit the monster twice. Successfully use the Capture Orb to capture the monster. In order to streamline the capture process during a capture attempt, a character may take 1 action, after which the monster takes an action. If the character is unable to accomplish the conditions above within 5 rounds, the monster flees into the zone, and the character must try to capture it again, starting over. An adventurer who has already caught a monster may continue to explore the zones until they run out of time. They may also attempt to capture other monsters that they encounter, but an adventurer can only have 1 capture monster in their capture orb at any given time. Each monster subsequently caught takes the place of the previous caught monster. Once the 4 hours are up, any adventurer that hasn't yet succeeded in capturing a capture monster captures a giant wolf spider for the Colosseum battle. Here are, and you can see here the cards, but here are capture checks. In order to capture a monster, an adventurer must first gain in trust or weaken it physically. If a character attempts to gain its trust, Ask them how they would like to do it and have them make a skill check. Here are examples of how they may make that skill check: offering food, animal handling or nature, mimicking, performance persuasion, and so on. Alternatively, an adventurer may opt to physically weaken a monster by attacking it. In order to speed things up in this case, hit points aren't tracked in a conventional method. Instead, a monster must simply be hit twice. This is very Safari Zone style. During its turn, regardless of whether the character it's facing makes a check or an attack, a monster will generally attack the character it's facing. If a monster hits a character during a capture attempt, it deals no damage. Instead, the adventurer makes all checks and attacks at disadvantage during its next turn. And then we see a monster must simply be hit twice. Capture Orbs. Once a character succeeded in 2 checks or 2 attacks, a Capture Orb must be used. To do so, throw the Capture Orb. They must invoke the magic by yelling, "Capture Orb, go!" The character must make a basic range attack, adding their proficiency bonus and any other modifiers against the capture monster's AC, which you can see right here. If the capture orb they're using is effective against the capture monster's type, they may make that an advantage. If the capture orb throw is successful, a beam of light shoots out of the orb and sucks in the capture monster. The capture attempt is successful! If the throw fails, the character may make another attempt during the next round if there are any more rounds remaining in the capture attempt. And here you can see the cards. Name is the name. Challenge rating, how strong the monster generally is. The more stars, the stronger the monster. Type, the capture monster's type generally used to determine capture orb effectiveness. This is a beast, for example. Illustration. AC, the capture monster's armor class. HP, its hit points, which is 4 here. Actions, the various actions and effects a capture monster can take in combat. You can see this can bite or poison. Strong against, the type of monster the capture monster is strong against. Damage dealt to this type by the capture monster is doubled. And description, a little bit of flavor text. So that's capturing a monster. You can see there are different zones, right? You go into the different capture zones: grassland, marsh, sea, woodland, or grave. And there are different monsters you can acquire in those different areas, and you roll basically to determine what characters find. So that's it. Now you have finished, you've captured your monster. You may have some other encounters along the way. Antagonistic party. Role-playing the capture monsters here, right? Since this adventure is a love letter to another series involving characters befriending monsters, feel free to roleplay the monsters accordingly. Perhaps each monster communicates by saying its name. Griff, Griff, Griffin, or ooze, ooze, ooze. Specters, satyrs, and other dragons may actually speak, though that is largely up to you. Have fun playing up the relationships between the characters and their capture monsters. Okay, moving on. Prepare for trouble. So, we're going to get into a battle. Let's look at a battle. Before each battle, roll on the Monster Battle Competitors table, which you can see the names here. Pretty cool, right? Beauty, Hiker, Gambler, typical trainer types. You may also choose a name from the roll on the table found in Appendix C. Once an opponent is determined, the party chooses which character faces that opponent. The character and their opponent will then roll initiative. Simply roll a d20 with no bonuses and have their capture monsters face off in combat. The active character and their opponent take turns having their capture monsters trade blows. Have the player using the corresponding capture monster card when running the monster battle. Remember that a hit deals 1 point of damage unless otherwise indicated on the monster card. Remember, too, to use the hit point boxes on the capture monster cards rather than their hit point total. Hit point boxes. Where is it? Hit point boxes. 6, right? Yeah. Expressed in a number as it appears and in a number of hits required to defeat the monster. Okay, coming back down. Remember that a hit deals 1 point of damage. Remember, too, to use the hit point boxes on the capture card rather than their hit point total. The first capture monster to have their hit points reduced to 0 is eliminated from the monster battle. Once a character and their capture monster finish the combat, roll for the next opponent. An adventurer that has participated in a monster battle can't participate in another one until all of their fellow party members have participated. This allows everyone to get a turn in battle. Tally up the party's wins and losses. The more wins they get, the better their rank. Here's our types, right? Dragon is strong versus ooze. Fae is strong versus dragon. Monstrosity is strong versus Fae. Ooze is strong versus undead. And undead is strong versus monstrosity. Here's an option to run them concurrently and to do more battles. Then we'll see an entrance by Team Shade, who will have a little monologue that they have. And there's Miowok, who is an awakened cat who has snarky quips. So there's that. And then they talk about the different combat, them actually wading into combat and having other things happen in the background. Let's see. Repiv supports her, attacking her target. Otherwise, she sends Repiv out to attack targets in the adventurer's backline. Jones keeps his distance, casting Sacred Flame offensively, or using Cure Wounds to heal Jockey or other monsters. Rowley rushes out to attack the adventurer's frontline. Miyawak uses his actions to assist his allies in combat. Look for a list of... There is actually a list of quips that he makes in the end. If Team Shade thugs are present, they team up 2-1 against a single target, defeating one opponent before moving on to another. And then you've got your conclusion here. We're not going to read through too much there. Wrapping up the adventure. And then here are the rewards. So you eventually find, if you do everything right, you can find the Wild Monster Capture Card deck. So it's a deck of cards to showcase all of your Wild Monster. It's basically of the Wild Monster cards, but it's a deck of illusions. And I really, really like... The cards inside are brightly colored, featuring a variety of creatures in dynamic poses. A small Kozakurin signature on the lower left-hand side of the card reads Sugimori K, i.e. Ken Sugimori, which is pretty cool. One rare foil card guaranteed in each pack. And then there is actually a Shadow Needle, an Unbreakable Arrow, which is a common magic item. But it's really cool that if it's fired from the Shadow Song Oath Bow, it has a cool little thing. Needles return to your thread. To make this arrow and any others in its set loose from the wielder's hand to reappear in the quiver, which is really cool. A couple potions and things. Story awards. If the adventurer successfully capture all the creatures of a single capture monster type, each character that survives receives the story. If you caught them all piece. On top of the Coliseum, if the adventurers successfully battle their way through the area without suffering any losses, each character gets that story reward. Here you can see some of the different characters, the NPCs and things that you'll encounter. And then here's some stuff about the people and pronunciation guides, which is always a great thing. Here is the enemy team battle names, right? Team Farfetch'd, Team Edge Dancer, the Chill Table, Baldur's Gate Brawlers. Here are the competitors and what their monsters are. Here's some Miyawak quotes. You little twerps will never get the best of us. Never give up, never surrender. Maybe if we started looking at what's the same instead of always what's different. Nah. You'll never stop us from getting our hands on all these capture monsters. Behold the power of my fury swipes. You get it. Good stuff. Here is the capture zone map, which is, I'm really a fan of this, to show you the different monsters. Here is the Coliseum itself. And then again, we have our orb types here. We have what monsters you can get in each of the different capture zones. And then here, again, are all the cards that you can, of the different creatures that you can acquire. Very cool stuff, right? Gelatinous Cube, not a ton of damage, but a lot of HP, right? Different options. Minotaur Skeleton, that's pretty cool. Some undead options here. And then here's the handout for the Monster Capture Festival Guide, which will tell you, a little bit about it and how to choose what you're going to do. Your Capture Orb, and then a tracker for your monster battles. And then here are your story rewards. Let's see. The students at the Moon Sea School for the Homeless look at you in awe. Even the faculty regards you highly. Or top of the Coliseum, you've become something of a celebrity. People talk about you, buy you drinks, and ask for you to tell your stories of your capture monster battles when you stay at a town with an inn, tavern, or some other form of lodging. Here is, again, information on the Deck of Illusions and the Shadow Needle as well, and a little bit about Jay, who has done a fair amount of really cool adventures. I actually have played in Dire Need before, the Storm King's Thunder Season 5 adventure. I have not played the other ones, but I'm sure they're good as this one is. So, it's so good, guys. I really want to find a way to fit this into my campaign, or I could just run it as an Adventure League one-off. I feel like people would really dig this. I think they'd be really into it. So, let me know what you guys think. Again, there'll be a link in the description if you'd like to pick up a copy for yourself. And if you do, let Jay know that Ted from Nerd Immersion is what sent you over there. If you leave a comment or a review on the DMs Guild. I think it's super fun. I think it's a great way to kind of break up, make combat a little more interesting, try to play everyone's favorite, Game Boy Color DS game in a Dungeons and Dragons scenario. Unfortunately, if you play it AL-wise, you do not get to keep your capture monster. You get to go through a very touching, maybe sad, bye-bye Butterfree style moment where you say goodbye to your capture monsters and let them go free. If you're playing this as a homebrew scenario, though, for like a campaign or something like that, maybe you let them keep them. Again, they're not really designed to be a long-term thing, and the way the stats are, probably not. But hey, no one can tell you how to run your own game. So let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you at the next DM's Guild Spotlight.